Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Stoly Doly Scaries.
I'm your host, John Ritchie Jr.
And I'm your host, Kyryn. And today we're watching a cult classic, Black Christmas. What's the tagline?
If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
I actually really don't like that one. I think they're trying to do like a call to like Claire being wrapped in the. I don't know. I don't get it.
Oh,
On
what does this one say? He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows.
I like that one more.
In all
But the
caps.
other one is like the more famous one. I've seen that one a million times, but I like the Santa one more. That's more on brand. I enjoy
Yeah, it
that.
says iconic tagline. The tagline perfectly captures the intense and thrilling nature of the film. I think that's a lie.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any
It's
sense.
like a giant question mark to me. It doesn't make no sense. Yeah, me not a fan, but whatever. And Johnny gets his first time watcher badge because this is his first time watching the 1974 version. And what was your initial reaction without giving too much away?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was like, at first, which version are we doing? Because I didn't know it was a remake. I saw the newer one, um, I guess like fairly recently, and I just thought it was like a Christmas slasher, and I was like, sign me up.
Yeah. It's crazy. There's been three of them because there was the one in 2006 and then there was the one in recent, like 2019. And I've
Yeah.
never seen any of them. I just refuse. I love the original so much. It's like top 10 favorite movie for me. I was in a sorority and I just feel like a kismet with the ladies and I lived in the sorority house and I don't know. It's just my favorite movie to watch at Christmas time. It's so creepy and so 70s and just so fun.
I was gonna ask that later because I wrote out my notes, and I was like, weren't you in a sorority? And then I was like,
Yeah.
then I was thinking, now what goes on there? Is this a real depiction of the house? Did you have a house mother? Did you have a
We didn't have it. So I pledged at Alabama, University of Alabama, and that was a giant sorority. There was like 300 girls. There was 90 just in my pledge class, and we did have a house mother, but she was like very old, decrepit. She wasn't Miss Mac. It was not Miss Mac. She had to be in her 80s and she just showed up for dinner. But I do think if I had had a house mother when I went to Radford, because I transferred from Alabama to Radford, and that was a much smaller sorority. I affiliated with them. And so when I lived in the sorority house, there was 9 of us. It was very similar to this movie. It was a very old home with like the banisters and like everything. I love the house in this movie so much. I think if I could own any home from a movie besides Practical Magic, I love the house in Practical Magic, but besides that one, this would be it. I love this home so much. It's a very 70s, very fun. But yeah, I pulled out my paddle and
wonderful?
my golden days. I miss them so
Wow.
deeply. They were such good days. It's
A
really
nod to
hard.
college.
Yeah. Yeah, man, they were the best. But yeah, it was a very tight sisterhood, very similar to the movie. Like I think it was very accurately depicted. Besides Miss Mac, I didn't have a Miss Mac. Um, she was pretty dope. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, if I was a house mother, I would be Mrs. Mac.
be hiding my whiskey in my books. Speaking of, our cocktail today is going to be the Moaner. And if you haven't seen the movie, you'll find out very quickly why it's labeled that. And we will be taking a drink anytime Mrs. Mac takes a sip of her whiskey. All right, here we go. This movie was released in theaters December 20th, 1974. It was, as I mentioned, directed by Bob Clark, who did A Christmas Story and Porky's, starring Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea. I looked at a few things to figure out how to say that, but I'm probably fucking it up. Keir Dullea, Margot Kidder, Andrea Martin, Lynn Griffin, Art Hindle, and John Saxton. So the film starts out with an exterior shot of this just stunning Tudor style sorority house. It's covered in Christmas lights, very 70s style Christmas lights, like the colored ones, my favorite. And there's an eerie rendition of Silent Night playing in the background. And I don't know why, but this is one of my all time favorite openings of a movie. I think they just do a really good job of balancing Christmas with like a eerie, spooky essence.
It does give a little warm and cozy feeling, but know that you're watching a horror movie. It's dark out, but it's snowy, so there's dark and light.
Yeah, it's foreboding without being like overbearing. So we see someone enter the Pi Kappa Sigma Sorority house, and we kind of peer in the window and we see that there's a party going on, lots of fun. Then we are quickly transferred to a POV shot of someone breathing very creepily and kind of peeking into the windows. The person then climbs up the lattice on the side of the house. We are released from the POV shot and we're now inside the party. We immediately meet Barb, played by Margot Kidder. She's talking to one of her sorority sisters, Phil, and her boyfriend, Patrick, about a Christmas event they're doing for little kids. They're doing like a Christmas village. He's going to play Santa. And this guy is like the epitome of the 70s. He's got like his afro, his glasses. Like he is really leaning into the 70s. I really like that guy. The phone rings. Olivia Hussey, who plays Jess, picks up. Hello? Pardon? Who? I've never heard anybody got the phone with such an affected accent as she. And I still can't really figure out what her accent is because she's English, but it's not really English. There's just like a slight something. Like it's like mid-Atlantic. I don't know what it is, but she's very recognizable, that accent. It's Barb's mom. So she tells her, Barb goes to take it. We're thwarted back to the POV shot of whoever just climbed up the lattice. He's made it into the attic at this point. He removes the little window that allows you to go down the stairs into the home. He crawls down and is literally looking right at Barb. Like we're seeing her on the phone and we kind of listen to her entire phone call through his point of view, which is just like a very brilliant decision made by Bob Clark. It adds it's just very voyeuristic. It's very creepy. Like it just adds an essence of ick to the whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, this fucker's in the house. Listen, he made it in. She's on the phone with her mom. Her mom's saying like, I'm doing something for Christmas, so she's gonna stay there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so we only get Barb's response to her mom, but we kind of get the idea that her mom's gonna go away with this new boyfriend or whoever this guy is. Barb tells her she's a real gold-plated whore, which is a super epic response.
Burn.
But then she's like, okay, it's fine. I'll go skiing with some of my friends. Like, don't worry about it. But Barb's upset. Barb's bothered by this for sure. She goes back into the party and she asks Jess and Phil, who are just standing right there, like, hey, do you guys want to go skiing? And this is a sisterhood. Without even knowing what exactly happened, they knew something happened. They knew something went wrong with the mom, and they're like, sure, Bob, yeah. Even Phil says yes, and we find out later on she had very concrete plans with her boyfriend. So they are picking up on the energy she's putting out that like something very wrong happened with her mom. They agree to go skiing. She asks another girl, Claire, it's going to be very important. And Claire is kind of like, oh, I already have plans. And Barb kind of like scoffs at her like, fine. And this is when I knew I wouldn't like Barb. She is my least favorite character of the movie. You like Barb?
Are you kidding me?
No, I have like scathing things to say about Barb throughout this.
Oh my god,
I
love
hate her
Barb.
character so deeply. She's a selfish bitch. Me no
Careful
like.
what you say.
I said it. I
Barb's
said
a
it.
queen. Barb is a barb. You know what I'm saying? So let's just stop right there. Let's hold up, pause. First of all, and this is not about Barb, but we'll get there. Um, where where the fuck are we? Are we in Massachusetts? It was shot in Toronto. It's
We're never
Canadian.
meant to know. It like I read that they just wanted to be like some random town. We're never meant to know really where they are.
Well, I think it was shot in Toronto, right?
It was shot in Toronto, but
Okay.
they yeah, they gave it no specific name for a reason.
Wonderful. Beautifully shot in Toronto. It's
Mm-hmm.
snowing. It's Christmas. It's all that stuff. Also read that it was one of the first slasher films to feature a first person point of view from the killer. Like one of the first. Because Halloween, we said, was 79. This is 74, 5 years later. I had never seen another movie up until this point where that was done before that time. So that's very interesting.
This movie was a trailblazer. There's a few things I will talk about later that I had no idea that other movies had really stemmed from this movie being
Yeah.
like the groundbreaker for that. But
Yeah.
I feel like Friday the 13th is the big known one for POV, but it certainly didn't start it. This was
Yeah.
a trailblazer.
Um, Also, this motherfucker just gonna scale this building up the trellis. Nobody's seeing his ass. I
The
don't get
70s.
that. I don't understand that. Can that even hold a person?
I don't know. How old is that wood? That's an old home, you know?
How old is that wood? Shoot, I might need my glasses for these other notes. Right off the bat, I said Barb is serving cunt through this whole movie
You
in
just
the
said an
best.
accurate statement. No, but not in the best way, in a really annoying way. Ooh, garbage.
Let's just talk about this beginning look. A choker,
The biggest choker I have ever seen.
hair up,
Mm,
top knot, loose button down,
very
smoking inside the sorority house.
of the time. Let's bring it back.
Cunt energy. And that is
I do concur, but
badass.
not in a badass way. And just to like, think she's all that. Think she like runs the house. Think she's so fucking funny. I would hate this person. Mm-mm.
I'll
Mm-mm.
give an honorable mention to Phil later, but
I do like Phil as well.
Barb
Phil's the real one.
is Barb is who I'm identifying with at this moment.
Interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting choice. So she scoffs at Claire. Says, "You don't want to change all of your Christmas plans to go on my sad little pity skiing trip?" Ah, she's the worst. The phone rings. Jess picks up again. Hello? Hello? And then says, "Everyone quiet. It's him again. The moaner." Beep, beep, beep. They all gather round, and she gets back on the phone, and she covers the speaker and holds it up so that everybody can hear. It's not moaning. I don't know why they really call him the moaner. It's like licking sounds and like, let me lick it. It's like
That was good. That was good.
it's really creepy. Possibly, I would say this is in my like top 10 scariest movie moments. I really do think this is like so disturbing for so many reasons. But as she's holding it up, the camera pans. This is just such a brilliant move by Bob Clark. The camera pans to each of the girls' faces as we're hearing these like first disturbing sounds. Then he starts getting like really dirty with the talk, like "let me lick it" and "pig cunt" and he just keeps upping the ante. And they're panning to each of these girls' faces, and just the juxtaposition between this like filthy, dirty man and these like sweet, young, like beautiful, innocent faces. And they just look so like confused, like, what? It's very sad.
Yeah. I think as a first time watcher as well, I was pleasantly surprised by the phone call, even though it was lewd and vulgar. Um,
Lewd.
I think that I really wasn't expecting that from what seems like a wholesome Christmas party, and but at the end of the day, a slasher. So I felt like going right to the point. I was like, "Ooh, let me settle in for this." So I was surprised
Yeah,
at especially the amount to which the topics went to, and
it's very filthy.
I was like, "Corinne, what do you have me watching here?" And I also think that like mixed with the because it's a holiday movie, it's like just Christmas songs in the background. So you're like, wow, this is
Yeah,
dark and uplifting. I don't
indeed.
understand.
Yeah. Barb eventually grabs the phone, makes a couple of snarky comments to him, calls him a creep, and he responds in like the most chilling, calm voice, "I'm going to kill you,"
Hmm.
and then hangs up. It's just so especially chilling because he's been in this like, "I'm going to kill you." It's like it's a huge jump and it's very concerning. And even Barb for a moment looks scared. She brushes it off. Is like, "Oh, I get calls like that all the time. It's nothing." But it's alarming. And she's alarmed for sure, even though she tries to brush it off. One of the other girls, Claire, who is kind of she just has like an innocent essence to her. She is upset and she tells Barb she shouldn't have provoked him and that a town girl was raped a couple of weeks ago. Barb makes a sassy comment, says, "Darling, you can't rape a townie," which I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean, but I think it's offensive. Claire is obviously offended. She's like, "Whatever, I'm gonna go pack." But she's had enough of Barb, and I don't blame her. Barb fucking sucks. So she goes up the stairs, and then in walks Mrs. Mack into the house. We finally meet this gem of a lady. She's carrying presents. And she's got a smoke in her mouth. She's got a raspy voice. She's everything we would want a house mother to be. They all welcome her in. They help her with her gifts. They say, "Oh, we have a present for you." They bring her into the living room. We cut to Claire's bedroom where she goes to pack. She goes into her closet to grab some things and walks away. And the camera pans into a garment bag, like a clear garment bag. And we see a man hiding behind this like transparent clothes bag. I'm not sure how she missed him because we can like clearly see his hand when they like pan in on it. Like he's very clearly there. She goes over to bed, she's packing, and she hears something in the closet. She thinks it's the cat at first, and she's like, "Oh, is that you, Claude? Is that you?" And she's like, "Who is that?" And she walks closer to the closet. "Who is that?" She walks closer to the closet. She sees it's a human being. Like, and she says, "Who are you? Like, who is it? Who are you?" She says it so many goddamn times, and she just to the point where and she's standing right in front of this garment bag who has a human being inside of it, and says, "Who is that?" He reaches out and chokes her and smothers her with this garment bag. And in the midst of this, they keep cutting back to the girls downstairs, like, "Oh, Miss Mac, you love it." They give her like a gift and they're all like cheering and this like, and then they cut back to Claire being like choked. And it's just brilliant. I love the way he does it. He does it throughout the entire movie, but
Hmm.
just that contrast is amazing. Like this horror that's happening upstairs to the
Hmm.
like joy and Christmas spirit that's happening below. So he kills her, and we see him carrying her body. Amazing scene. You see the shadow against the wall of her like limp body, of her taking her up to the attic. And again, as he's doing this, we just hear the sounds downstairs of like, "Oh, Mrs. Mac," and Christmas songs and just like joy and cheer as her limp body is being carried up the stairs. So back at the party, Miss Mac says, "All right, girl, the party's over. Everybody go to bed. Like, it's time." They all disperse. Mrs. Mac goes to the library shelf, opens it up, picks out a book, opens it, and there's a bottle of whiskey cut out. That is like an old school alcoholic tactic that I've ever seen. And a drink alert, first of many for Mrs. Mac. But she takes a swig of whiskey. And she hears somebody coming. She quick puts it back in. It's Jess, and she tells Jess, "Oh, you girls are too good to me." The phone rings. Jess picks it up, and it ends up being her boyfriend, Peter. He tells her, he's exhausted. He's been practicing for 4 days straight for this recital. He's a pianist. And Jess tells him she needs to talk to him about something. And she insists that she can't do it over the phone. It has to be face to face. Uh-oh, Peter. Things ain't looking good for Peter. That's never what you want to hear. He's a bit of a prick back to her, though. He says, "I haven't slept in 3 days, and I don't have time to be playing these games. Just tell me what you need to tell me." And she just says, "I have to talk to you in person. We'll do it tomorrow." And he finally relents, and he's like, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was short with you. I'm just exhausted." She's like, "It's okay. I'll come by whatever tomorrow." And he says, "Okay, I love you." To which she replies, "I
I
know."
know.
Which,
Well,
one of the worst replies you can ever do. You're in trouble, buddy. Peter, you is in danger. Come up with a game plan, buddy. It ain't looking good. So they hang up. We cut back to Mrs. Mack, who is now brushing her teeth in the bathroom, when suddenly she gets kind of like a little smirk on her face, and she decides to take the lid off of the toilet. And what should be in there but a bottle of whiskey? She pulls it out, doesn't wipe it off, and she takes a sip of whiskey.
honestly,
And she's got a problem. She's drinking toilet whiskey. I
well,
mean, this is next level.
wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you've never had a toilet whiskey? No,
I've
I'm
never
just
had a
kidding.
toilet whiskey. Never.
Um, I think this bitch is clever. She's got hiding spots. I can't wait to find out more. Where are all these places around? In a book, on top of a shelf, in a toilet.
Mm,
Um,
endless.
I'm
Is she not allowed to have alcohol? That must be what it is. Like, maybe house mothers are not allowed to. I don't
partake
know.
in the festivities. I think she's trying to be
Role
a
model?
oh yeah, like that sort of figure, right? For the girls, but you can tell, especially in this, because she doesn't just take a swig of the toilet whiskey. She just uses it as a mouthwash to rinse before she goes to bed. Um, I'm quickly not only falling in love with Barb's character, but also Mrs. Mack. Anyway,
So, Miss Mac drinks the toilet whiskey. Jess goes to check on Claire. She knocks on the door a couple times, doesn't hear anything back, and then boom, we get a little jump scare of Claire in a rocking chair, and she Claire in her chair, and she is covered with the garment bag. It's like suffocated her, and so she's just in this rocking chair with this garment bag on. And we will see this many times in this film, but this is the first image of it, and it is pretty dark. It's what did you think of it? I'm really curious. Like I said, I've seen this movie so many times that I can't even remember what it was like the first time I saw it and the reaction I had. What did you think of that?
um, I think that it was weird that I mean, like he needed to do something with the body. I'm surprised that he could lift it up and get it up there, which is another.
She's a
We're gonna
tiny
talk.
girl. Maybe she couldn't have been more than 100 pounds.
You mean to tell me he put it through that little hole up the ladder?
I bet he had issue. It's kind of like the Michael Myers thing. Like we see him
Exactly.
carrying her, but then how did he? Okay, how did he?
Exactly.
How did he like get it through the hole without? It was not a seamless transaction. I'm sure of that, but It is
Those
a
things to
small
me,
hole.
okay, so those things to me are funny. Do I think that the snapshot of her in the rocking chair, yeah, that's wild.
So we get this jump scare of Claire in her rocking chair. We hear the killer singing like a creepy nursery rhyme, like "Daddy's going hunting." Then it's the next morning. We see an older gentleman. He's standing outside of a building, clearly waiting for somebody. Poor old man gets hit in the face with a snowball by some laughing kids. A guy comes over to help him, and he asks if he by any chance knows his daughter, Claire. She's in Pi Kappa Sig. She's supposed to meet me here. She's late. He tells him where the sorority house is, and the older gentleman, who we know is her dad now, goes to find her. Quick cut to the Christmas village where the girls had been working on the day prior. We see Patrick in his Santa uniform. Best Santa I ever saw. Deserves an Oscar. In the midst of seeing the children, he literally has a child on his lap, and he's complaining to Barb, like, you're taking skiing. We were going to go away together. We had all these plans. And Barb is just like, suck it up. She's coming with me. She doesn't want to come with you, Barb. She wants to go with Pat. She feels bad for you, Barb. That's the only reason she's going with you, Barb. She's such a bad friend. Who would
She's
make their friend do that?
she is not strong arming anyone to go with her. They are just following suit.
They feel bad for her.
Do they feel bad?
Yes. Yeah, they do. They do. And you know what? You're right. They're grown women. They could be like, you know what? No, I do have plans. But did you see her reaction to fucking Claire? Plans? It's Christmas, you bitch. People have plans. How could you possibly think someone wants to go skiing with you? Ugh. Bugs
All right.
me.
Well, we all have faults, and we have to learn from them.
Well, Patrick is pissed, and I don't blame Patrick. He's like, oh, you're a fucking bitch. He's a little bit insane, a little bit intense, but right, yeah, he's not wrong. She is a bitch. That was a real shit move on her part. Anyway, they cut back to the sorority house where Mrs. Mack is talking to Claire's father, saying, I don't know what happened. Her bags are packed. She was leaving. As they're in her room, he's like looking distastefully around, saying, I'm very disappointed in the atmosphere around here, and I intend to do something about it. I didn't send my daughter to come here to go drinking and dating boys. And he's very dissatisfied with her room and the whole situation. I think it's a little bit misplaced because your daughter is basically missing. We don't know that yet, but still, it's a weird thing to be focusing on at this point in time. But he's not happy with the situation. As he's talking to Miss Max, she's trying to cover naked posters on Claire's wall, which that one poster was a little bit outlandish for Claire. Is it two people having sex on the ground? I don't know.
It's like a peace sign, but
it's a peace sign.
two people are
I didn't get that. It's a peace sign. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. It's still a little weird, but that
it's
does
very
make more
70s.
sense. It's very 70s. It's very 70s. So Mrs. Mack is trying to cover it and hide what's going on in the room. And she defends Claire. She's like, oh, no. She's a good girl. You're getting the wrong idea. She's a good girl. I bet everything's fine. She's probably just over at the fraternity house. I can show you where it is. If you give me a lift. He agrees to give her a lift over. And Miss Mac goes to put on her hat, and she's putting on her lipstick, and she's bad-mouthing him. I didn't send my daughter here to be thinking with boys. Tough shit. And it's just making comments to herself. She takes a swig of her whiskey. I don't blame Miss Mac. That's a tough job for anybody.
These broads would hump the Leaning Tower of Pisa if they could get up there.
That's when I was like, okay, maybe she doesn't like these girls. That was Miss Mac ain't a fan. think can't imagine she's getting much money for doing what she's doing. So we get a quick cut to Jess and her boyfriend. They're having the talk. She tells him she's pregnant. He's very excited, but she immediately follows it up with, I don't want it. I'm going to have an abortion. He's very upset by this. And he says, you can't just do that. It's not just your decision. And she says, I wasn't even going to tell you. Which Jess doesn't need you, Peter, and I don't even think she really likes you. He tells her she's selfish, he's very angry, but she is resolute that she doesn't want this baby. And he tells her to leave, just get out. And so she goes to walk away, and he stops her and says, wait, I want to talk to you. I'll come by tonight at 9. She's like, there's nothing to say. But he's like, no, I just really want to talk to you. Like, just wait. Like, I'll come by the house at 9 p.m. She's like, okay. So she leaves. We see Claire's father at the old Santa Village. And we get a really great shot that is very reminiscent of A Christmas Story, where we see Claire's father kind of in the foreground, the front ground, kind of really close to the camera. And then we see Barb in the background. And there's like kind of a fuzziness about it. Like it's a very specific shot that is very Bob Clark. And we see Claire's father talking to his wife, and he's telling her not to worry. And he doesn't think anything's wrong. And he's found a friend of Claire's, and she's going to put the word out, and he's not worried about it. And as he's telling her this, we see Barb, drunk as fuck, giving champagne to, what is he, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old? And not just like, hey, buddy, here you go, handing it to him. She's like pouring it down his throat, like, you want some more? Here you go. You want some more? You like? I think he's drunk.
That kid wanted to taste. She was having a good old time, and he came up to her. And, you know, it's like every kid's first little sip of something.
Okay. Okay. Well,
it's harmless. Harmless right now.
It's trashy. She's trash. I'm gonna clip it in this scene here.
Yeah, you should.
What actually went down.
She is not sloshed here.
Yes. Well, I don't think we'll be home tonight. It's a bit late to head out now.
I think the little bugger schnockered, son of a bitch.
Here at the Christmas.
Yeah,
no.
She is sloshed. She is sloshed. And I will say,
she's
to
sloshed.
Margot Kidder's credit, Bob Clark said that she did her scenes drunk. She wanted them to be very authentic, so she actually drank and was pretty sloshed.
I was gonna say, her acting is incredible.
They didn't acting. I could have done that. I could have gotten some liquor. I mean, anybody could have done that.
Could you?
Yeah.
Are you gonna give me a sip of champagne?
Are you an 8-year-old?
I could be. Where's my little sippy?
So Barb is feeding this child alcohol in the background. It's a very weird scene. We cut back to the sorority house. The phone is ringing. Jess rushes down to get it. It's another prank call. This one, it's not dirty. It's very strange.
Where did you put Agnes, Billy?
Look, I'm telling you, you have the wrong number.
What your mother and I must know is...
It's a very weird, it's a very different call to the one we heard earlier. It's weird.
Yeah, it definitely feels like multiple personalities ish.
But he does a very good job with the voices. If it's one person, like the woman voice, well, it was actually voiced by a woman, so maybe that's why it sounds so good. But it's very believable that it's multiple people. It's very confusing. Jess hangs up. We cut to a police station where we see Claire's father, Phil, Barb, drunk as fuck, being weird. She pops open a beer in front of the cop. It's weird.
What do you mean it's weird? This is the 70s, y'all.
Nah.
She
Don't
goes in
enjoy
there
this.
and she says, "What are you gonna do?" And then
What
this
are you gonna
motherfucking
do?
cop.
She doesn't say, what are you gonna do? She said, what are you gonna do? It's embarrassing. She's an embarrassment. Oh, I hate her character so deep. I have secondhand embarrassment for Barb. That's how I feel about this character. She's horrific.
I'm in love with her.
Ooh.
In love. The cop tells her to shut up. He says 90% of the time girls who go missing from college are usually in a cabin with a boyfriend.
Yes, and that was shitty of him. I'm not saying that wasn't shitty of him. He does eventually relent, though, and say, if you think she's missing, you need to file a missing person report. He's obviously not going to take it seriously, but that's kind of where it ends. Jess goes to Claire's boyfriend, Chris. Cutie, cute. Very cute guy. He's
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Art. He's in a hockey mask. He's playing hockey with his friends. She knocks on the window. He comes over and is like, hey, what's up? She says, have you heard from Claire? And he's like, no, she went home. She says, no, nobody's heard from her. He says, what? And he says, yeah, Claire's. She says, yeah, Claire's dad is here. They went to the police station and filed a missing report. And he said, well, what did they say? She says, well, they didn't take him seriously. Why? He has a very bizarre reaction to that. Why? Claire says, well, they just think she's shacking up with her boyfriend. And he gets a real pissed off look on his face. And we know Chris is about to do something. So.
Hold on, wait. Before we leave the police station, right before the hockey scene, one of my favorite scenes, the cop and Barb are going back and forth.
The fellatio thing?
Yes! Are you kidding me?
Was not going to include that.
Well, I will, because it was one of my favorite scenes of this damn movie. The cop signals to Barb and says, excuse me, could you give me the number of the sorority house? And Barb says, sure, it's fellatio 20880. He says, what? And she says, yeah, it's a new exchange. The cop doesn't comprehend. Her acting in this moment is stupendous, superb. I think the eyes are giving everything. I think she knows what she's doing, and she's making a mockery out of this person who's being an asshole. And he doesn't understand what the word is. And I think that's a part of the joke. And so to her delight, she spells it out for him and is just like smiling to herself. And I ate everything that she portrayed in this. I was like, this fucking
girl
bitch.
is missing. A girl is
God.
missing. And she's doing a fellatio joke. Oh, oof. We took differently.
Yeah. What are you, the fun police? This is supposed to be a fun moment for us, Kyryn.
Is it appropriate? Wasn't the time? And it says everything about Barb's character. It says everything about her. It's not the time. Claire is missing. Her old papa is scared, looking around, got tears in his eyes the whole movie. And fellatio. Oh, grow up. Oh, I didn't take anything but more hatred for Bob. I was saving her when I didn't mention that scene. I was like, I'm not even going to go down this road because all I'm going to do is poop on her more. And I poop on her through the whole movie. But
you cannot. You have to mention that because she's an icon.
Agree to disagree. Anyway, we cut to Peter at his piano recital audition. He's auditioning for some men. I don't know what for, but it's obviously a very important thing that he's been practicing for. But he has been so he's so distraught from Jess's news that he plays fucking awful. I could have done better than this dude. It is like chaos in there. It's like, it's awful. He does awful. He
We have
bites it.
different opinions. Again,
He does terrible.
that is not terrible.
He
No.
does terrible. That's like that is the scene, and that's like the professional opinion of the scene. It's meant to be awful. That's why he's sweating. That's why the guys are like, "What the fuck's happening here?" He does terrible.
Oh, is that what it's supposed to be?
Why do you think it's not? It's
I
supposed
don't-
to be. You think that was good?
I don't think it was bad. No. I put Piano Man gives his concerto, and then I said, and it's good. But he looks defeated.
Because
And then I
it was
say,
bad.
and then I said, did he mess up? I said, did he mess up? I literally wrote that in my notes after the piano. Did he mess up? Why is he so upset? I guess it must have been bad, but it didn't sound bad.
Well,
We're going to clip that too. We'll put his little piano track behind what we're saying. We'll do a poll for the audience.
it's
tell them
not
to
good.
get-
He fucks it up. He fucks it up big time, and they try to make it pretty obvious. I thought, and with the faces of the people, he doesn't do good. Not to Johnny's eyes, but he does not do well. He does not succeed. So
What, because he wasn't playing Beethoven or Bach? It was
because
bad.
it was bad, dude. Because it was bad.
Fine.
It was awful.
It was interesting.
It wasn't meant to be though, homie. It was meant to be like a concerto piece. It's meant to be something professional. It wasn't meant to be this abstract. It was supposed
I like
to be
abstract stuff.
very unabstract. It was supposed to be extremely. It was bad, regardless of what.
It was meant to be bad.
And it was. It was awful. It hurt my ears. It's not good.
Next.
He bites it. And back at the police station, there's a distraught woman talking to detective about her 13-year-old daughter who didn't come home that day after band practice. She's very concerned. She's got tears in her eyes. She's very worried. The detective was like, is that normal for her to come home? She's like, no, never. She always comes home. That's not what she sounds like. I don't know why I did that. But she is like very concerned and scared, obviously. And as he's talking to this woman, boom, in comes Chris, Claire's boyfriend, in his fur coat, looking just like, do you know the music video for Rich Girl with Hall & Oates? Daryl Hall, it's like a meme now, but he's got this like fur coat and he looks just like him. Put a clip in right here.
We have to talk about Hall & Oates suing each other? I'm a little upset. Yeah, you didn't see this? Yeah, news broke this week, baby.
That's really upsetting. I love Hall & Oates.
Are we Hall & Oates?
Top 10.
Are we Hall & Oates
very
this
upsetting.
episode?
I want to be Hall.
Well, isn't John Oates?
John Oates is the afro, but that's very upsetting. Why are they suing each other?
You know, something about copyrights and all that jazz.
Oh, motherfuckers.
It always comes down to business, am I right?
That's true. That's very true. So, and he walks with his fabulous fur coat. He means business. He yells at the cop for not taking Claire's case seriously. The detective hears all this going on. He leaves the woman whose daughter is missing, comes over to know what's going on here. Chris explains Claire's missing. This cop isn't taking it seriously. Yada, yada, yada. The detective's like, okay, well, let me see her case file. Let me look into this. Back at the sorority house, they're eating dinner. Mr. Harrison's obviously very worried about his daughter.
Is he?
Yes.
His face?
70s. People didn't show a lot of emotion there. Can you see Pop giving a lot of emotion? I mean, it's not today. He's not going to be sobbing, but he's worried. He looks worried. I really feel for this guy. I like this character. I like him.
This character is giving like Grandpa Joe in Willy Wonka. And
You put those words back in your mouth. It's not Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka. He may kind of look, but his essence, he is caring and sweet. No.
the fact that you think it's believable that he gives a shit about his daughter right now.
He is really scared. He's really scared. Just because he's not showing it in a like overt way does not mean he's not really scared.
I don't think he's showing anything.
I've been with a lot of emotionally unavailable men, and I'm telling you, I can tell when people really care and they just don't want to show it. He's worried.
I hate that. I hate that for you. I hate that for me. I hate it for all of us.
Anyway, I think he cares very deeply, and he's very upset. And he's sitting at the dinner table. He didn't eat anything. He's very worried. That's why he didn't eat anything. And I hate her the most in this scene. Barb is off to the side. She is bombed at this point.
There's a certain species of turtle that can screw for 3 days without stopping.
She's babbling drunkenly about turtles, or these turtles that have sex for 3 days straight. She's just babbling. She goes and sits back on the couch and she sips her drink and says, "You all blame me, don't you?" And nobody says anything, really. And she says, "I know you all think it was my fault. You think I drove her away and she's dead and it's my fault." That was fucked up. That was a really fucked up thing of her to say. And her dad is sitting right there and he's scared. He's nervous. And even if he's not nervous, that was a totally inappropriate thing to say. If she's dead, it's my fault. You don't... What? As she's doing this, Miss Mac and Phil are both like, "Barb, stop it. You need to go to bed," like, blah, blah, blah. And then finally Phil's like, "Barb, you're drunk. Go to bed." And this resonates with Barb. She's finally like, "Okay, fine. I'll go to bed." And that is the only moment, and I do mean the only moment, where I kind of have a little bit of sympathy for her, because people have done that to me a couple times. It's real embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. And it's a very like sobering moment where like the mortification kind of seeps in for a moment, and it stinks. It does suck.
I think it's interesting that Mrs. Mack tried to control her, and she was like, "Bitch, I don't fucking trust you. Like, you can't say anything to me, blah, blah, blah." And then Phil, seemingly a good friend of hers who is a trusting person, and maybe someone who knows more, feels very motherly in figure and says, "Stop being a dick," essentially. And she's like, "You're right." So I think that it takes someone like that to really be able to put somebody in their place and understand the reasons why they need to be told in such a way. So I really loved this scene as a whole, regardless on how we both felt about the turtle joke. I think the real star becomes Phil in this moment.
So anyway, Phil says, "You're drunk, go to bed." Barb sullenly says, "Okay," walks up to her room. We get a quick cut, and almost like a jump scare, of Peter flipping off the top of the piano, and he picks up like the metal stand and starts smashing it. He's very upset because he played so badly in his recital.
He's an artist.
Then we're back at the sorority house. Jess and Chris walk in. They've just come from the police station. They tell everybody in the house what they've learned, but we don't hear what they've learned. We just know that they're talking to them. We see it from the outside window, but we don't hear what they're saying. We just see that they're talking to Mr. Harrison and Phil and Mrs. Mack. And then before we know it, they're leaving the house. And as they're leaving, Miss Mack tells Phil she's going to her sister's. She tells her she'll check on Barb before she goes, but that, she probably won't be there when they get back. They all go to the park where a search party has gathered to look for Janice, the 13-year-old that the woman was reported missing earlier, and they're going to also look for Claire. Cut back to Mrs. Mack at the sorority house. She's packing, she's singing to herself. She doesn't seem that worried about Claire. I'll give you that. She seems very unbothered. Takes a swig of whiskey. Her taxi pulls up, honks. She goes to leave, but she hears her cat, Claude, meowing. She's looking for this cat all day. She hears him in the attic. And she goes up the ladder and she pokes her head up into the hole. And we see behind her just kind of hands like holding a hook, but they're kind of shaking. Like it's like very tightly gripped hook behind her. And she's kind of cursing Claude, like, Claude, how'd you get up here? Why are you up here? Then suddenly she sees Claire dead in the corner in the rocking chair. I don't know why she doesn't just go back down in the hole, but she slowly turns, perhaps because she can sense an essence behind her, and she slowly turns, and that's when the hand releases the hook, and it hooks right into her throat and pulls her up into the attic.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. Love Miss Mac. She's gone. Gets her.
And her
How to
shoes
save
fall
her cat.
down.
How to save that cat. So back at the search party, Jess tells Chris and Phil that she's going to go home because she's already late. She was supposed to meet Peter a while ago, and she needs to go meet him, and they're going to continue searching. So she goes to leave, and not long after she leaves, one of the search party members starts screaming. They found a body. It ends up being the 13-year-old Janice, which is very sad. We don't see it, and I'm grateful for that. I don't want to see it, but they found the body. Sad.
I love how just all of our notes are so conflicting. Mine's just like, but we don't see anything. We don't see the dead girl in the park. I know, it's bad. I'm morbid, I guess.
No. I think you just, I think it's kind of your opinion on the ending too. Like, I think, and Rosemary's Baby and Blair Witch Project, I think you just really always want to see. And I almost never want to see. I prefer my imagination to reality. And I didn't want to see the dead 13-year-old girl. So I was super grateful for them to leave it up to our imagination. I'm sure it was not cool. So we just see the reactions of everybody, the horrified looks, but we don't ever see the body. They cut a quick cut back to the sorority house, the ringing phone.
Mm-hmm.
Jess rushes to pick it up. It's the moaner making more wild noises. Then he says, "Help me, please stop me. Filthy Billy." And Jess just keeps saying, "Why are you doing this? What do you want? Why? Why don't you hang up?" I have a really hard time at this point with, like, why wouldn't you just hang up the phone? Why wouldn't you just be like, no, I'm not participating in this at this point? I kind of felt that way at the beginning of the movie. Like, why would you indulge this freak? And he's getting off on talking to you. He's getting off on this. Just hang up, dog. Just hang up.
And somehow they're interested in what he has to say.
You know, and so am I. I am too, but I'm not in there with them. I'm not on the other end of the phone. I would not. I just, no way, dog. That is so creepy. She finally does hang up. She screams for Mrs. Mack, but there's no answer. So she just decides to call the police and tell them she's receiving obscene phone calls. She's right away put on hold. And as she's on hold, we see somebody coming down the stairs behind her very slowly, very creepily. And it's Peter. Which isn't very comforting, to be perfectly honest at this point. That guy is weird and creepy. And he scares her. Yo, you scared me.
He says, well, you scared the hell out of me too. I was upstairs having a little sleep. Hope you don't mind. It got very cold out there waiting for you. She says, sorry, I was late. Claire is missing, and she was at a search party looking for her. I was thinking in this moment, like, man, the days before cell phones, where like you couldn't really get a hold of anyone, and
I
now
prefer it. Oh my
you
God. I would go back
basically
to
know
that in
what
a
everyone is
heartbeat.
doing at all
It's
times.
awful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she asks how the recital went, and he says, "How do you think it went?" And then she goes on this little rant of saying, like, "Peter, what kind of game are you playing? I thought you wanted to talk, so why don't you quit attacking me and we try having a rational adult conversation?"
Yeah, and that's
Um,
noted because when she says, Claire's missing, we went to look for her, search party, and he says, how noble.
mhm.
And that's when I was like, yeah, fuck this guy. This guy's a piece of shit. This guy is a selfish piece of trash. Somebody's missing, and you're worried about your piano recital was ruined. He's honestly, I hate him more than Barb.
Thank you.
I hate this guy. He's
Thank you.
awful.
I mean, he is an artist. Just kidding. Um, he's a douche. But she she files the police report, and I think it again we get to see this dickhead of a police officer named Nash, and he's on the phone with her and says, "Well, how many calls? Well, well, did you call the phone company? Well, miss, we're very busy here. There's been a child murdered in the park," which also is another thing. Like, why are you discussing police business? And he's kind of like, "Well, I don't know when we can get a man on it." Mr. Harrison at this point is like face to face with the police officer who is now with Nash, who was talking to her.
Yeah, because I think he said like the address, and Mr. Harrison, Phil, and Hottie in the fur coat all come rolling over because they heard the address and they think it's something to do with, I don't
Yeah.
know. Ears
So
perked up.
his last line to her is, "It's probably just one of your boyfriends playing a little joke." And then I was like, "Is it? Are you doing that on purpose?"
Yes! It's very,
Um,
very subtly purposeful. Fuck
yeah.
that.
I'll
Fuck
try
that.
and get to it ASAP,
Mm-hmm.
which, fucker. Jess is distraught about the events of the night, and she is sad that Claire's still missing. It's interesting that he says, "Hey, look, Claire's all right."
And he starts talking about himself. I'm gonna leave the conservancy. Like, oh, dude, pick your moments. You're a piece of trash. He's a selfish piece of garbage. And he's also like 38. I don't know why he's dating this 21-year-old. There's so many levels of my hatred for this creepy, creepy, creepy man.
Yeah.
But the fact that she says a young girl's been murdered, Claire's missing. Claire's probably all right. Let's talk about me. I think I'm gonna leave the conservancy. It's real fucked up. Pick your
Yeah.
moments, homie. It
It's
ain't it.
almost like a one up, like, "Oh, you had to talk to me earlier about this. Well, now I have something to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving the conservatory, and just hear me out, please. I've lived in one room for 8 years, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of lining up behind 6 people every time I want to take a bath." Which does sound bad. However,
It's not the moment, homie. I don't care
priorities.
about your bath habits at this point in time. It's
Maybe they're trying to
crazy.
tell us, like, he's getting a little fed up with the world around him. He's ready to call some sororities and start saying pig cunt shit. Um, but he's had it. And honestly, me too, buddy. He's quitting the conservatory, and he says that we're getting married. Slow blink on that. He
I
says, "Well,
mean,
say something."
her reaction, it says it all.
Says
She
it
looks at
all.
him like what the fuck? Like shooketh. Like,
Yes.
are you
And
kidding?
and she also said, "I'm ready to have like an adult real conversation." And I thought her response to this was very grown. She says, "You remember
100%.
when we first met? You told me about wanting to be a concert pianist and how it was your biggest dream, and I told you about some of the things I wanted to do. I still want to do those things. You can't ask me to give up all of my ambitions because your plans have changed. I can't marry you. he's like, sure you can. What does that change? You can still be married and do all of those things. And she's like, Peter, I don't want to marry you. All right. And then he
And
goes,
that's what it actually finally comes down to, is she doesn't want to be, and that's when he finally like hears her. It's not just that, and that's annoying in itself, that just like her saying like, I have all these plans and all these things I want to do, and these will this child would hinder and completely squash those dreams, was not enough. It was her saying like, dog, I don't want to marry you. And that's when he was finally like, oh, what do you want to do? Like, that's what it took, was her being like, dog, no, I don't want you. It's not even this whole situation. I don't want you. And I don't blame her. This guy's a creep. Mm-mm.
He says, what about the baby? Then we go to the police station.
Nash gets that call from Jess. He doesn't take it seriously, but Claire's dad and all, they hear it. So they go right to that detective and say, hey, yes. And so that's when he calls him and is like, this happened here and you're not taking it seriously. A girl's missing from this house. Yeah.
Yes. So then the lieutenant reads the report and sees that Dumbo wrote down fellatio as the address. And him and the partner are like dying laughing. And they bring Nash on over. And he tells Nash, like, I don't think you could pick your nose without writing instructions. And he hears them laughing and realizes that he's the butt of the joke again.
I do like that he's like, oh, it's something dirty, right?
Yeah. Something dirty, ain't it? Mm-hmm. Wonderful. See, that's what I love to see. A character such a shithead get made fun of a little bit.
I knew you would like that fellatio thing. I just knew it. As I was skipping over, I was like, I know he's gonna be.
Listen, that's a part of my personality. Back to Peter, who's frustrated apparently at the Christmas tree and hits it. And he says,
wait, just what is this Christmas tree? Did you notice the thing? It's like, it's feathers, but it's not like, I've never seen a Christmas tree like this. I'm like fascinated by it.
It's a Liberace Christmas tree.
I've never seen a tree like that. It's outstanding. But sorry, yes, he hits the Christmas tree. He's pissed. He's real upset.
Yeah. Peter says, you selfish bitch. You're talking about killing our baby as though you're having a wart removed. And she says, now I can see why I didn't want to tell you. And
she shouldn't have. If this isn't a fucking sign.
Yeah. And they go back and forth. He says, like, what the hell are you trying to do to me? And she's like, what are you doing to yourself? And he's like, Jess, let's get one thing straight. You are not going to abort that baby. And she immediately is like, Peter, you're not going to tell me what I can and cannot do. Let's give it up to all the girlies.
Jess is, I am so jealous of her personality in this movie. She's just like strong. I am who I am. I'm going to do what I want. And maybe that's just because I don't think she really likes Peter, but still, like, she is so strong with him when she tells him at first, like, I wasn't even going to tell you. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Mm-hmm. I love her. Her whole personality in this movie is just, she's one of my favorites.
And he goes back to it. Like, Jess, if you try getting an abortion, and she's like, nope, I think you better leave. And he says at the end, you're going to be very sorry.
And he is so creepy. Like, when he has such a, like, thin skin, like, crepiness about him. I don't know what it is, but I could see him doing something not okay. I could see him killing people.
He's an artist. Everyone gets back to the house, and Peter, on his way out, bumps into the detective, Lieutenant Fuller, and they're discussing about putting a tap on the phone. And obviously, with Jess's permission, they investigate the house now, finally. Lineman Graham is the guy who's clicking around trying to find out where the call's coming from. Jess sort of explains what the calls sound like. They explain the tapping system and how it's going to work. They mention to the girls that there's a police car outside with an officer in it, and they have nothing to worry about. And the cops leave, and we get to see Peter luring outside behind some trees. Just poking his head on through.
He's so
Something ain't right.
Something's not right.
Something ain't right. So Phil breaks down to Jess and says, I just know Claire is dead. I can just feel it. Which, this is the first time that I was like, is Phil in on it? I was thinking...
Really?
Yeah. There was a couple times where I was just like, listen, if he wasn't making the call, then maybe she could have been, because there's two voices and multiple voices, and you never know.
But Phil was there when the crazy, like, piggy cunt was... No, it couldn't have possibly...
You never know.
Interesting. I love these moments. I do love these moments, because I would have never, ever even thought that. It would be very unexpected. It would be very, very unexpected if it was one of the girls in the house. That would be fucking wild.
Right?
Oof, I wouldn't like that.
Maybe why I'm always observing. So there's a lot I have to say about Phil. But either way, Phil says, poor Mr. Harrison. I feel so sorry for him. And then she says, I'm sorry, Jess. I guess I'm just exhausted. I've been taking pills for my cold and they knock me out. Will you be okay if I go to bed? Like, she's like, yeah, just go get some rest. Then we get a scene where the lineman is saying that they need to keep the guy on the line and, to give him a little bit of time. So the lieutenant will get a call on his phone on his desk when the house call rings. So they're making sure that that is well set up. Mm-hmm. Then we see the killer rocking Claire back and forth with a bag on her head, holding a doll.
Rocking her real hard. Pew, 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 pew. Like, it's really intense. Like, okay, buddy. All right, relax.
Well, Jess is downstairs sitting by the fire, the phone next to her. That fire looks real good. I did write that. He, the killer, climbs down from the attic and opens Barb's room and is standing over her body as she's sleeping. Then she sort of like gasps for air because she needs her inhaler. And Jess goes to make sure that she is okay because she hears her gasping. And then Barb wakes up and says, like, I was having a nightmare. I dreamed a stranger was coming into my room. And then, in classic Barb fashion,
I should be so lucky to have a stranger come in my room.
Come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumph. As she says that, she's got carolers at the front door.
What are these carolers doing on college campus?
When somebody's just been murdered.
These are 8-year-olds. This is so weird.
Carolers at the front door. Barb goes back to bed almost out like a light.
Like that.
And Jess is admiring the carolers at the front door, just singing their song. And we might need to talk about this because we used to do this as kids.
Yes. And looking back on it now, I'm like, do these people open the door and were they annoyed? Because I think I'd be really annoyed.
Well, now, like, who's caroling nowadays?
Of course, it's very weird. Nobody does that now. Must be Santa. Must be Santa.
Must be Santa, Santa.
It was just so weird. But I didn't think it was weird. I certainly didn't think it was weird. And I thought it was just something everybody did.
No.
Now it's something nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
Just, gives a little nod to our fucking weird ass family with crazy traditions.
I think they just wanted us out of the house. But yes,
well,
I agree. For sure.
They, what they probably did? They were like, yeah, send the kids off. And then they all just took
1000%.
shots.
1000%. That's what happened.
They hit the pipe. something. You never know.
Mm-hmm. No.
No, I thought all of those things were very wholesome growing up. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be in this traveling band.
Just
Going,
partridge family. It- it-
we were
again, it's not something you think is weird until you grow up and you realize that nobody else really did it. And but it was so special and was my favorite memories. But like just comparing your experiences to other people and realizing that that is not really a thing is interesting. But
yeah. Well, Barb should be
the
so lucky
children.
to have a stranger in her room. And we get the Christmas carolers.
Very
The
scary.
killer enters Barb's room again. She really went back to sleep, yes. And he says, "Hey, it's me, Billy." And he says, "It's all right, Agnes. It's all right. Shh. Pretty Agnes." And then he takes that glass unicorn that's in Barb's room from her nightstand, and we finally see his outline of his face and his, top half, which is, it's just Peter, right? Like, it looks exactly like Peter.
No, I think he's got shorter and darker hair. I never got the Peter out of it. I could see why they were trying to make us think that, but I don't get it. Yeah.
Either way, this killer stabs her in the stomach multiple times as she is gasping for air, and the carolers are singing at the same time. And you know what? I guess Barb finally got penetrated.
I think she's a lesbian. I do think Barbara's a lesbian. I know she's supposed to be a bisexual.
I mean, she
icon,
did have
but
the glass unicorn in the room for a reason.
I really do think she's a lesbian. I really do think that.
I don't know. Either way, the phone starts ringing inside, and Jess goes in to answer. Simultaneously, when she answers the phone, the cops are trying to trace. Obviously, they put a line tracer.
The tap.
The tap. So now the killer caller sounds like a child.
Just like having a wart removed.
The most important part that we all perked up on is just like having a wart removed, because that is a part of the conversation that we heard earlier with Peter and Jess. Phil wakes up from all the, happenings in the house. Yeah. And they're talking in the hallway. And this is where Phil says, like, if you think it was Peter, why didn't you just tell the police? And she says, well, because I'm not really sure. And she goes on to say he repeated almost word for word what Peter said to me tonight. And Phil is saying, this is where, again, I started to think about Phil in a different way. Because Phil says, don't you think it could be a coincidence? Like, I really don't think it's Peter. I mean, I don't really like him, but I don't think he could do it.
No, I don't think that's weird at all. I think I would do the same thing. I think I'd be like, no way. I get it. It's weird, but no way. I think maybe that's why I was never suspicious of Phil. You're like a little
sleuth.
Yes, Inspector Gadget.
Well, I have to be.
I would never have thought of Phil. Never until you. And even now, I don't think Phil. But it's interesting to even look at Phil in that way. I just wouldn't have thought she had it in her. But also, what was her motive? What would be like? She would have to be cuckoo bonanzas.
She could have been like. I have a lot of theories. I have a lot of motivations that could potentially,
I mean, and I respect that. I do respect that. I remember you saying that with Scream. I never suspected Phil. I never honestly really seriously suspected Peter. I thought he was a creep, bad piano player.
Artist.
I didn't think he I didn't think he was the cute.
Jess says, I don't believe Peter would do this. He's so gentle most of the time. Most of the time.
People you should be most suspicious of, baby. Gentles.
And then they say, like, I'm really getting scared. Like, are you sure that cop is still out there? And they look, and he is, or so we think, because it's just a fucking car.
Yeah.
The phone rings again. Jess picks up, and so does the detective, but it's Peter. Coincidence. And he says, Jess, and they go back and forth. Yeah. Oh, God, please help me. And he's asking for her to help him because he's losing his marbles. And she says, like, look, don't cry. We can straighten this out. There's nothing to be so upset about. He continues, like, please, Jess, we can't kill the baby. Jess, don't hurt the baby. Jess keeps asking where he is because she's like, just tell me where you are. We'll figure it out. And they disconnect. So we don't know where Petey is. Lieutenant learns through their convo that she's pregnant, though, because he calls her right after. And she forgot he was listening, apparently.
Maybe she thought she wouldn't. Maybe she thought once he realized it was like a known that he would hang
Peter.
up. He's real fucked up though. Here he's like, it's very important that you tell me what that conversation was about.
I mean,
Why?
if he's the usual suspect.
He is not though. Like it was very clear. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't like that. I normally really like this lieutenant throughout the whole movie, but I feel like that was really nosy. It's very important that you tell me what that was about. Like it was clearly a conversation, a very personal, beyond personal conversation between a lady and a man who were in a relationship together. And yes, Peter was very emotional and yes, Peter is very emotional and uh, gross, quite frankly. But I do think that lieutenant knew that he shouldn't have anything to do with that. And even if Peter was suspicious, whatever, that was weird of him to do all the things that he did. I didn't like that.
I think he's collecting evidence, gathering all the information.
Gathering data.
Listen, if you want to know if this fucker's going to come at you in your house, break through right now, and eat your soul, then you got to know all the deets. I thought he was doing his job. I think
he was being a nosy Nelly. Gossip girl. XOXO. It was not necessary. It was not necessary for him to do that. It's very important that you tell me all the details of that. No, fuck off. No, he didn't need to know that. Just agree, disagree.
Either way, in Jess's own words, because he's like, mentions the conversation earlier, she says, he's an artist. He's very high strung. So, from the horse's mouth. And he said neurotic, maybe? And she says, no more than a lot of people. First of all,
I think more than a lot of people. I think much more than a lot of people.
I think maybe more than a lot of people. However, I still cannot believe that Jess is the worst actress ever in this film. She is not good at acting.
Olivia Hussey is an actress. Romeo and Juliet.
Maybe she should have stuck to that.
She's in the 1990 It. Do you not remember that?
No.
You don't recall that? What? She plays the guy with the ponytails. Wife. In the second half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We just forget that?
Yeah. She's not memorable. The only thing that was memorable when I looked at a screenshot of her outfit and I was like, "Man, look at those high collars."
Well, but she also has the hands one. I love the hands sweater. I do love
Beautiful.
the hands sweater.
Beautiful.
It's great.
Lieutenant feels like she's holding something back, and
Yes.
he asks if Peter was present for any of the calls tonight, and she says, yes, he was here when the first call came in. So we're meant to think
very excited
that,
about it. Like it was like a get out of jail. Like yes.
like, oh right, it can't be him because yeah.
I don't think it's Peter still in this moment, but I don't think that means anything. He's coming downstairs. The call had ended. He called,
Mhm.
and then he came down the stairs. So he could have,
But she wasn't
nothing
thinking
about
anything
her.
of that.
Yeah.
So the lieutenant now gets on the phone with the dean of admissions, and they want the records for Peter Smythe, who is Petey, who we've been talking about. Phil goes upstairs into Barb's room because her door shuts all of a sudden as she's locking one of the windows upstairs. Jess calls out to Phil upstairs, and then we get a shot of the killer calling from a room, and the phone rings for Jess downstairs. This time on the phone, it's squealing, and he's making pig sounds and saying, "You fat pig. You pig, you bitch pig. No, Billy, no. Ouch. Help, help, help. Where's the baby? Billy, Billy."
That's good.
There's another reference to Agnes. Give mommy the baby. Baby's all right, mommy. There's a, I like saying all those things out loud. It's funny.
I really do enjoy it.
It's like sometimes I'll just like be at work and I'll just start reciting lyrics to a song because it's like poetic, but also sometimes songs are really fucking stupid. And it could be like
Yeah.
one line of just like, I fucked this bitch one day. And like, you're like, wow. It's comical.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a thing that I do. The detective goes to, after he finds the piano smash, he goes to the police car where he's notified that they get a trace of the call because Jess has had him on the line for longer than 10 minutes. And the Nash from the station says, "All right, I got something to tell you. The call is coming from Belmont Street." And then he says, "Nash, you got it all wrong. That's where the calls are going into, not where they're coming out from." And Nash, this is probably the best line of the film, is when he says, "That's where they're coming from too, sir." Detective says, "Oh shit." Suspenseful music. He tries to reach out to Jennings, the officer that is stationed outside of the house for the girlies. And we get a shot of his throat slit in the car outside.
When did he have time to? I don't know. I don't like these things. And also, why would he kill this 13-year-old? He has snuck into this house. There's some plot holes here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. Which is why they're painting it to be Peter again, because he's in the trees at one moment, and then he could just climb up the trellis easily. He doesn't even need to go in and out of the doors or whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, Lieutenant can't get a hold of Jennings, so he tells Nash to call Jess and calmly not mention that the guy is in the house, but to do what he says and just leave, and that he'll be there in 5 minutes. The phone rings. Nash reaches out to Jess. He communicates that he starts to communicate everything pretty calmly, surprisingly. She's already suspicious. But then he loses it at the end. He's like just telling her what to do. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go outside of the house, leave. Lieutenant will be there in 5 minutes. And she's like, but why? She is already not trusting of this dickhead. And then finally he loses it and says, the killer is in the house. The calls are coming from the house. Jess, get out. Don't go upstairs. Jess. And she's already dropped the phone at this point. He's like, Miss Bradford. She's gone. She goes to the front door, screams for the girls upstairs. She gets no answer, obviously. So she's in a panic.
Yeah.
And she's screaming at the top of her lungs, Phil, Barb, please answer me.
This is where we get really good acting.
This is the only time.
Olivia Hussey.
This is the only time.
This is a really good time. I don't think it's the only time. This is a really good time.
You know what? At least she gave something more than Mr. Harrison.
We're not going to go down that road.
We're not going to go down that road.
She gives a lot in this moment. Phil, Bob. She is so fucking scared, and I really feel it in her bones. Like, and it's so. it's very sweet that she's trying to do that, because at the end of the day, you've known these people 4 years, not even. You know, you've known these people like 3 years. Her doing this is risking her life. Her doing these screams and stuff. If she just walked out the door, none of this shit would have happened. But she's like so desperate to save her friends and get them to come down and make sure they're okay. And it's a very sweet moment. I don't know if I'd do it, but I thought it was really sweet.
Well, clearly after the Blair Witch, she probably wouldn't do it. Oh, now we're developing a repertoire between us, and it is cute. I will
Never
say
let that go. I changed my mind. I said I would come in out.
She grabs a poker from the fireplace and goes upstairs, which she was told not to do. She goes over to Barb's room and opens the door to find good old Phil and Barb laying in her bed, dead together, blood pile.
Oh.
She slowly starts to walk out of the room after she sees their bodies, and then we hear a whisper, and it says, "Agnes, it's me, Billy." And through the crack of the door in the bedroom, we see just a wide eye that looks kind of devilish and red, like sticking.
Huge. Huge.
So they are seeing each other for the first time, or she is seeing someone in a bedroom. I would lose my noodle. And he says, "Agnes, Agnes, don't you tell what we did, Agnes." She gets up, rams the door into him, and yells and runs down the stairs and tries to open that damn broken front door that they've been talking about all damn fucking movie. So then she can't get out that way, so she tries to run back in the other direction. Meanwhile, at the same time, he's coming down the stairs, and she tries to turn, and he grabs her by the hair, but, loses it, and she falls down. She runs to the basement door and shuts and locks it behind her as this crazy person is yelling and trying to break in the door. It's the same screams from the phone, like the caller screams, like the weird noises, but it's in person, so it's like louder.
Yeah.
And like
creepier.
more erratic.
Disturbing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the time that I felt like, oh, this is like a good.
It was like animalistic. It was very, 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 very dark. Yeah.
It was very neat. Interesting. And then, once he realizes he can't get in, stops banging.
Like suddenly.
Like
silence.
Silent. And then casually walks out the front door. You hear everything because it's silent. So you just hear his footsteps go across the wood. They trail off outside. He goes outside, and she starts to go down into the basement deeper. She's got this fire poker, just with her, and there's windows all around because, in a basement, you got those windows at the top, and they're all iced over. It's freezing out. She hears a mumbling, and then someone comes up to one of the windows to try and see into it. Their like shadowy figure goes across to multiple entry points of the basement. Then finally they say, "Jess? Jess, are you all right? Jess, are you in there? Jess?" He rubs his hand on the glass. This is another good moment of like sounds where it's just like shh, 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 shh. I love it. Then he breaks the window in. He gets into the basement. Jess hides. He's trying to find her in the dark, walks towards her and asking like, "Jess, is that you? Are you in there?" His voice is so creepy in this moment, and they sort of lock eyes. And then he sees her and goes towards her and he says, "Why didn't you answer me? Jess, you had me worried. What are you doing down here?" And those eyes getting closer and closer is something, because we have to focus on, like, I'm focusing on everyone's eyes. I'm like, who the fuck
Yeah.
is this fucker? Terror. Sheer terror.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes black. It cuts to the police showing up. They go and get into the house and down to the basement and shine a light, and we see Jess laying on the floor with Peter on top of her, but just like blood coming out of his
Corpse.
eyes and his
Yeah,
mouth.
he dead. Yeah.
He
And
did.
I thought she was dead.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought they
even
were
this
both
last time I was like, did she die and I just forgot this shit? Like,
Yeah.
and then they just call her and she's like, oh, what? Like, like she's fully fine. And I don't know why. Maybe she was just tired. That'd be exhausting.
She had every emotion come out in that final scene. Then the next shot is is Jess laying upstairs in bed. She's out of it, not doing well, and everyone is there in the room with her. We got Mr. Harrison, we got the police officers, we got the lieutenant. Everyone's in there, and they say that they have to take the bodies to the morgue. There's reporters outside and everything, and they all leave her in the house alone.
So,
But
very
right before
fucked up.
just before that, Mr. Harrison, Claire's father, passes out, and they have to take him to the hospital because he's in shock.
He's in shock because he knows. He knows, but it is noteworthy to say they still have not found these bodies. Like, but they still haven't found Claire, and they still haven't found Mrs. Mack. They still, even at this fucking point, haven't checked the house. I don't. What? How could they have not checked the attic? How, at this point, could they have not checked the attic? Now it's unbelievable. Now it's weird. Why wouldn't you check every orifice of this house? Doesn't make any sense to me. It's actually really, really upsetting to me. What? You know?
So in the final scene, the camera is on Jess the whole time. And then after everybody leaves, they turn the light out and she's like Sleeping Beauty in there. And then starts to go down the halls. The camera pans out and we get a shot of like the bedrooms where the girls were found and like some music accompanying it, like ding. That's Halloween, but you know, it's something, a piano string, ding.
Yeah.
And then they go into the next bedroom. Meanwhile, I was looking in the bedrooms, like, do I see eyes under the bed? Like, I was looking for something in these shots.
Of course you were.
Of course I was. And then we get down the hallway, and right before we go up to the attic, where Mrs. Mack and Claire are still chilling, literally, we still hear singing from up there.
And we realize that it wasn't Peter. And no, Billy is still chilling. He's still alive. Wasn't Peter. Never
Poor
thought
Billy's
it was.
boyfriend.
Wasn't Peter. Wasn't Peter. But then they pan out. They pan out again. This girl got a lot of air
through the attic, through the bodies, out to, you get like a shot of the original shot, which is the front of the house, which is kind of cool, full circle. One police officer like at the front door, and then the phone rings at the end, which also implies that he's killed again. Right. And maybe our final girlie also got her torch snuffed. And by who? Dun, dun, dun. Roll credits.
We'll never know. And we're never meant to know. And I'm really okay with that. It is, it's meant to be ambiguous. We're never meant to know who it is. And I feel really good about that. A lot of people don't feel good about that. How do you feel about that?
You know, normally I'm not okay with it. I like a complete story, and when something is not complete, there is a part that bothers me. because I'm always the person that like has a zillion questions always about anything, even if it is a complete story.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but what about this? And what about this? And now it's just endless questions. I'll never know.
I don't know why. And I you know what? I actually normally feel the same way. Not to the extent of you, but like for some reason, this movie really doesn't bother me. And I feel like the ending is really beautiful the way that it is. And it's really special and it's really different. I did read that Bob Clark, when he showed it to the producers of the film, they did not like it and they demanded that he change it. What they wanted was in that last end scene for Claire's boyfriend, Chris, to be alone in the room with Jess, for her to wake up and for him to say, "Don't tell him what we did, Agnes," and to kill her.
Yes.
And I would have fucking rioted. I would have hated that with
I
a
would have
deep.
loved that.
That would have been awful.
Okay.
And Bob Clark refused. And I'm so glad he refused. That would have been awful.
I would have loved it. I wouldn't have needed to see her die, but if it got to the point where he just said that and then it was just like a truth bomb and then credits, I would have been, woo! Gone,
No.
girl.
It's kind of like Halloween, why I hated that they made Michael Myers her brother. I don't need a connection. We don't need it to be this complicated shit. Sometimes people are just crazy and they target people for no reason, and that's really terrifying in itself. And I don't need to see it being a friend or a friend's boyfriend. What the fuck is that about? I don't need to see that type of anarchy. I think the fear and I think the scariness is just in the random act of a person deciding they want to kill you, and they do for no reason other than they're psycho. And I don't need to see him, and I don't need to know their backstory.
I think
Billy and Agnes, never to be known.
it's equally as frustrating knowing that some guy in Toronto was just walking down the street and decided to climb a trellis. Like that.
But sometimes it's that simple. Like sometimes it isn't a connection. You know, more often than not, that is what it is. It is just somebody deciding to target a stranger for no reason.
But that's why
it's rarely
that's why I'm like,
that.
I love true crime, because they're investigating, they want to try and figure it out, and then they find the motivation. And sometimes the motivation could just be like some other movies that we may go over, that is just like, you were there, right?
And I think that's the most terrifying thing of all.
That
is
is
you were
the
just
most
there.
terrifying.
Here at Stoly Dolly Scaries, we rate our movies based on how many Stoly Dollies it would take you to enjoy the film we're watching. Johnny, how many Stoly Dollies? You go first.
Oh, you want me to
Yes.
go first?
I'll roll on to you. I'm
And
so
a little
curious.
twist, just like they gave us at the end. I'm very confident in saying that I would rate this a 1 Stoly Dolly. I did enjoy it with 0. Always have to start that.
Sure.
There are some things that I loved about this film. I loved the music, of course, the piano playing, wonderful. I loved the characters probably the most. Barb is a queen. Mrs. Mac is funked up in a good way, you know, and Mr. Harrison is not it, and Jess's acting is not good, and there are some slights there which I would need one Dolly to get past for sure. But I loved the concept. I loved the time. I loved the Christmas-y moments, the times that made me think about my own nostalgia in a way that is funny and also at the same time scary. And it was really good overall. And this is, I haven't watched the original ever. I only watched the
I know, first time watcher.
Probably more. That's right.
First time watcher.
So yeah, I'm very
special.
confident in my rating.
I'm going to give this movie, I'm going to give it 1. I almost did a half, but I'm only not doing that because I don't
Yep.
even know how I would imagine. I don't think I'm gonna do the graphic. Otherwise, I think I would do that. I'm gonna do a 1, and I say that because I just felt like one drink made me enjoy it that much more. Again, I could watch it without any drinks and enjoy it immensely, but I just feel like one drink really enhances the magic of the film. I felt like Jess was just an incredible actress. I felt the sorrow pouring from Mr. Harris.
This bitch. Mm-hmm. Go on.
I felt my just hatred for Barb's character. I felt like everything really connected the way that it was meant to be, and I felt like I could really appreciate it the most with one drink. So I say 1
Beautiful.
as well.
Beautifully said. No notes.
No. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this special Christmas episode of Stoli
Ho,
Doli
ho,
Scaries.
ho.
Ho, ho, ho. If you like us, please please subscribe, please follow, please. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Until next time, don't answer the phone.